Lead and Empower Her with Dr. Julie Ducharme, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Lead and Empower Her with Dr. Julie Ducharme is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Dr. Julie Ducharme.
Hey, are you looking to scale your business from 5 figures to 6 figures or 6 figures to 7 figures? If you are, I have the perfect thing for you. What I want you to do today is I want you to go download a book. This book is going to take you through my 3-pillar system. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to growfast.cash. I say again, go to growfast.cash and you're going to be able to download my free international best-selling book, which is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. You can take that book. It's going to help you scale your business to the next level. Again, go download it. Be good, be brief, be gone. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Julie Ducharme, and welcome back for another episode of She CEO Podcast. If you are watching, you're probably noticing my backdrop is a little different today, and that is because our normal location is under construction, but we have this lovely warm fireplace here in San Diego where we think, oh my gosh, it's 65, it's chilly for us. So I'm really excited today for another great episode. This podcast is all about bringing women from different industries who are heading these industries up in CEO positions and talking to us about the everyday life things that are happening, challenges, tips, and more. So I'm really excited today to have Kerrie Lee Brown on our show. She's an award-winning journalist, author, media consultant, and women's health advocate. She is the founder of Red Lily, global lifestyle brand, author of My Heart, Myself, a self-care guide for women, and editor-in-chief of Success Magazine. Kerrie Lee has contributed to more than 150 magazines worldwide and has made it her mission to educate and inspire on the topics of the heart, health, making yourself a priority, and authentic storytelling to help heal, transition, and evolve your life. Kerrie, welcome to the show. And I love it. I just bringing on powerhouse women like yourself. And we've been getting to know each other over the last several months, which for those of you listening, we have lots of amazing stuff in the works. We won't give it out yet just because we haven't finalized all the dates and everything, but we're getting there. So you guys will need to check back on both mine and Kerrie Lee's social medias and everything as we build out some amazing She Talk stuff together. But I love this because I learn so much every time that I do these. And especially with even though we know each other, we keep learning more about each other, right? Like we met in Denver and we're like, this is happening and this is what's going on. And so I'd love for our listeners to learn a little bit more about you. Obviously, both sides, your entrepreneurship side and what you're doing at Success. I think it's great for them to see that the interaction of how you use your storytelling and all the experiences that are happening. So maybe you can give them a little bit of backstory of how you got into just the world of the magazines, editing, and of course your entrepreneurship side.
Absolutely. I mean, I love kind of reflecting actually on my career and kind of seeing where I've come from and where I'm going, because a lot of people want to know that. But at the same time, every time I go back, I kind of think about new things that have brought me up to where I am today. So it's a really good learning for me. But I've been in journalism and media and publishing for 3 decades now. So 30 years. It kind of dates me, I know, but before social media, before websites, everything. But I'm from Toronto, Canada. I currently live in Denver, Colorado, but I started my journalism career in Toronto as a magazine editor out there. Actually, funny enough, in the health and fitness world, which is kind of my background in journalism, in the sports and the athletic training and everything. So you're very familiar with that. And yeah, I had a really great career there. I was the editor-in-chief of Oxygen Women's Fitness. I've written for so many different publications around the world. And, as a journalist and as basically a brand ambassador for all of the publications I've ever worked for, you're always trying to, kind of up your next ante, if you will, like go to the next role, go to the next level in media, try to be out there in the public. And this was all before personal branding was like a a term. So I was always trying to do that. I was always pushing myself to the brink. And of course, I'm a mom of 2 boys and had a very hectic lifestyle back then. And again, this was when I first started my career. And I interviewed a lot of celebrities back then. I was really trying to get my foot through the door in the media landscape, which is an extremely competitive industry. And long story short, and I know we'll touch on this because of my book, but I ended up having a heart attack at age 39. And this just rocked my world, as you can imagine. I mean, obviously, I didn't think I was out of shape. I was in good health. I was just commuting 2 hours each way every day to work. And it was extremely busy. And I did not realize the stress I was putting on my body at the time. And, it goes to show that this is one of those things that not only as a woman, but a working mom and just really trying to climb that corporate ladder, if you will, it was really putting a lot of undue stress on my body and on me emotionally and mentally as well. And it turns out that I ended up having a congenital heart defect from birth that I didn't know about until my late 30s. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And it really, really made me think about my own well-being, my family's, and how I was going to change my lifestyle for the better. Because as a person working in media and as a career person always on the go, I just never really stopped to think about my own well-being. It was all about everyone else, as women do. And you know that, like, it's just always about the other person. And so this was right at the height of my career too. And it really changed the trajectory of what I ended up doing personally and professionally, actually before that.
Yeah. And it resonates with me because I didn't have a heart attack, but I remember moving in, like you, going for that super high position. I got into it, I think it was 38 or 39 as well. And I had 2 little ones and I was working 8 hours a week and it was incredibly stressful and definitely toxic. And I too had, a scary experience of just like being so sick and so unhealthy, hair was falling out and other health issues. And my doctor was a real, like, you need to get out of this job. And I'm like, I can't get out of this job. Like, I fought to get this job. Like, this is like everything I've been going after. And he really pushed me to reevaluate health wise, whereas I had a 2-year-old and had just had my second baby. And it was just kind of like you, I'm like, I'm not unhealthy. Like, I exercise, I eat healthy, but the stress factor, and I agree with you. I think as women, we are very loyal and we're problem solvers and we want to not walk away from something because we don't want to be considered a failure. And that was a big issue for me. I felt like I was going to be considered a failure if I walked away from that job. And it's crazy that I was like considering, well, do I just want to have bad health so I can have success? Or do I want to have good health for my kids? And we shouldn't have to do that, right? But I feel that there's a little more pressure on women than our male counterparts, especially when we're in roles, when we're moms and wives and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
And not
I think
even
it's
moms.
huge that
Absolutely. I think it's any woman, right? We tend to, it's just in our nature, right? To put all that pressure on ourselves to do it all. And I knew I was in a busy career. I knew I was commuting a lot. I knew I was traveling a lot. I knew I was trying to prove myself in the media landscape and in the big city, if you will, and commute back out to the suburbs. And I knew that, but I didn't do anything about it. So until something really happened to me physically, I really didn't see the sign. I didn't really see the writing on the wall, if you will. And until that happened. And that's when I started to realize that my self-care and my mental health actually was so important. And again, this is 10 years ago now, right? 11 years ago, actually, that this happened. And, I still today struggle every day, even after that happened, with regards to slowing down and thinking about my daily stressors, putting some time into the day to think about my own well-being. It's just something that women just don't do. And so that's where my life changed so much, not only in my personal life, but also in my advocacy and my giving back and me speaking to women all the time across the country about taking that time for yourself. And that's why I wrote my book as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's dive into that because that was something I want to talk about. It's called My Heart, Myself, a heartfelt guide for women and for women who do too much, which I feel like that's like all of us, right?
It is all of us. And I always caveat that title with that it is all of us, no matter what age you are, no matter what you're doing. It really is.
Yeah. And I'm asked this question a lot because I do a lot. I have 5 companies, and then of course we have She Talks, and then I have all these side projects. And people say to me all the time, I don't know how you do it. Right. And usually my response is I have a great team. Mind you, it took me years to find balance in my schedule and like in life. Really, it did. I'm a workaholic. I mean, I just tell everyone I am a workaholic. And I know for me, I can definitely go a lot longer on less sleep than most people. I know I can run a lot faster than most because that's just me and how I'm built. But then I hit a wall at one point. Like when I saw you in Denver, I had been going all month. I was literally in a different state every week, and I felt it that week. And like I remember by day 2, I was of the last part of Denver. I was like, okay, I feel that wall coming, right? And then I came home and I had to move, and then I like just crashed, right? And so I definitely want to dig into this because some of the things I saw in the book, and I downloaded the Kindle, so I'm going to be reading it. But in here you talk about tackle the guilt factor and the never-ending desire to appear okay. I really want to dive into this because I wrote a blog focusing on like the guilt that women face, right? And so when you talk about this, how do you address the guilt factor?
It's also something that I don't feel you ever can get over it. You know what I mean? As women, we kind of constantly always have it. Um, so at that time when I wrote my book, shortly after my heart attack, and I did have, cardiac surgery and everything to rectify my electrical issue, made some lifestyle changes, of course. Also, my husband at the time, he ended up getting a job offer in the US. We decided to change our lives, kind of move to the US and change everything. And I knew that, my biggest problem when I really reflected on what led to all of this happening in my health was that I never really took the time to, you know, um, be open about how I was feeling in the stress world, or that I was, under pressure, or that I was feeling even lack of confidence at certain times in my career. I always held that in. And I think, again, a lot of women do this because we have to persevere. We have to raise the kids. We have to be the one, and I was always that person. My friends would come to me with issues and problems, and that I never really self-reflected on my own. And I also certainly never came across to anybody else that I felt pressure or that I couldn't handle it. So that statement and that whole chapter in there is really about us looking at our own needs and our self-care, and ultimately our self-love for ourselves as women and as, caregivers, and being able to, cherish what our value is, and also knowing that if our health isn't, 100%, that we're not going to be there 100% for our loved ones. And that could even mean for our jobs, for our bosses, for our colleagues, for our friends. If you're not 100% health wise, you're not going to be there for them. So appearing to be okay is something that, at the time and throughout my 20s, I always used to take that and kind of wear that as a badge of honor that, oh, I'm fine. I can handle it. I can do it. I can stay late at work. I can handle it. I'll rush home on the train to get home to my son's hockey game. I took that as a badge of honor. But after my heart attack and everything that happened physically and even emotionally after that experience, I realized that that wasn't necessarily a badge of honor. It was actually hurting me. It was actually more detrimental to me to just say, I'm okay, I've got it all handled, than it was for me to say no. And I also allude to saying no is so important, because we need to do that to give ourselves that space to be able to concentrate and figure out our own well-being before we can be there for others. So that's what that means. It's okay to not be okay.
And that's so important because so many things you're saying are resonating with me. I felt the same way. I felt that I needed to be this rock solid person. I was working in a very male dominated industry. And so I was basically trying to behave just like the males. And I talk about a lot of this in my book, that I really had to find like my authentic path, but also how I address things, right? Like I did not think that I could show just a sliver of any issues, or I didn't have it together. I thought I had to have a perfect looking house and perfect looking kids and, everything like that. And that's so important because I mean, today, the other issue that we talk about is mental health, right? And like, we don't address how this affects us mentally and the wear and tear on us mentally, when we can't just say, you know what, I'm not having a great day. I don't feel great. This is tough for me because, um, I think that very often, and this happens more for women than men, even though I love our male counterparts, and I'm sure this happens for them, but it's like, I think the expectation of women is that if we show emotion, if we show that we're struggling, that's considered a weakness. Right. And in my book, I talk about how oftentimes, like, a guy wears a pink tie or he cries and people are like, that's so endearing. Wow. But if a woman does that, it's like, oh, wow, they can't handle the position. And so I resonate with that because you talk about like, we talk about boundaries, right? And like you were talking about changing your life, and so for my health, I had to start putting boundaries in like, hey, I'm only going to do meetings between this time and this time. And it's funny how people get upset with you when you say no to something, right? And so, I get people get mad at me. Well, you didn't respond to me in 24 hours. And I'm like, sorry, I had 300 emails. Well, why can't you come to my event? Well, because I've got 120 other invites to events. And so, it's interesting that kind of effect when you're not always available for everyone 24/7. And I'm sure you find this too.
Yeah, and I know that you're just like me. We're very kind of A-type, and we like to, we're busy and we like to stay active, and we're always kind of the doers, if you will. And I'm very much like that too, always have been. And I feel like, yeah, you feel like if you say no, or if you're not adhering to other people's demands, that you're letting them down. And I think I still struggle with it today. Like I said, just because I've gone through my surgery of changed lifestyle and really improving on my own self-care and even wrote the book, it doesn't mean that I don't have to always think about that every day as well. There's things I've done in the last 6 months to 12 months that have really changed the trajectory of my future. And it is because it is the best thing for me. And I've had to get to the point where every day I'm reconsidering, what am I doing today, or what's on my plate that I have to set aside so that I can be happier doing other things. And overall, I'm going to be more healthier, and more pleasant to be around, but also more productive in my work life. And so those are it's like a mindset, right? It's a mindset you have to change. And that was one of the biggest learnings, was not only how to look after my physical health and my actual health, but also to look after my mental health. And I felt like that has now led, kind of years later, to my success today. I'm able to put those boundaries in place. I'm able to say no to certain projects or to certain things or certain people that I don't necessarily want to be involved with on a professional business side. But then it opens up other doors, like you and I resonate quite well because we get each other. We understand, we have kids, we have obligations, but then we get together when we need to do business. And I think there's a mutual respect. So it's changed my life for the better in regards to really opening my eyes to the way I want to lead my life. At the time, it didn't feel like that, of course, and I was at a really stressful job at the time, leading, actually, funny enough, it's a parenting magazine at the time when it happened. And all the signs and symptoms leading up to my heart attack, I just ignored, because we do. And we just said, oh, it's just stress. It's just this. But I didn't realize it was leading up to something worse. And by the time that happened, I look back and think, I can't even believe that I ignored all those signs. So my book is really about my whole process and what I went through looking back, and talking to women about the signs and symptoms of heart issues, but also just stress in general, because we don't realize that stress can change so many things and, hurt us negatively in the long run. So yeah, I mean, it's still a work in progress today, me looking after these things.
Looking to grow your business beyond 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures plus? What I want you to do is go download this book. The title is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. It will help you grow your business past 5, 6, and 7 figure. Go download the book today. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. And download the book for absolutely free.
Yeah. Well, and that goes with the other thing I noticed here. It says, accept the things you cannot control and listen to your body. And I can't tell you how many times, the thought is push through it, right? Oh, my stomach hurts. Oh, I have chest pains. Why is my head throbbing? Well, just pop some aspirin or Tylenol and push through it. And then I noticed too, like many women also who are friends of mine who have had other health issues, waited. And then when they finally got the doctor was like, if you had just come in earlier, we could be dealing with this on a different level. And it's so true. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I know a lot of times women can feel very vulnerable sharing their health struggles. But I think it's the only way for us to help each other and in turn our youth, right? Like, I don't want my daughter to be at a point where she's so stressed out that she literally, her health is being affected. Like, I want her to know it's okay to say when you don't feel great. It's okay. Like, you don't have to be perfect all the time, right? And so, I think this is important. And for those of you who are listening or watching right now, my heart, myself, a heartfelt guide for women who do too much is on Amazon. We'll make sure to put the links in there as well. You can get it on Kindle, and also you can order the book. I love to hold the books, but I wanted to get it quick, so I did the Kindle version. I'll probably order I can't help it. I'm old school. I love books that I can just break open. But this is something that's so important, I think, to all women, and especially those women who are wanting to aspire to the positions of CEO or close to that, like what you and I are doing, Kerrie Lee. Is there is a definite pressure about us, and so building those now. And I'm 47. It probably took me a really good 10 years to build boundaries and say no. It was really hard for me. I don't like to. I'm a people pleaser, so it's like I don't want to say no to it. But I really realized that. And so I wanted to
Do about people pleasing. I mean, it's called the disease to please. It's something I think Oprah coined a while ago, but I mean, it's so true. I'm a people pleaser too, and not only in my career and my work life, but also at home. And I've had to come to kind of come to head with being that, especially even in my personal life and setting those boundaries. But the book itself, first of all, it's a very easy read. It's a short read. And I did that on purpose so that people could put it beside their side table at bed and read it every night, just to remember. There's checklists in there. There's brain breaks in there to make you think about what kind of, activity and experiences you've gone through the day so that you can change them if they're stressing you out for the next day. So those are some practical tips I have in the book. And, back to, again, when I reflect on all the stuff that led up to my heart attack and writing the book, I was definitely someone who, again, working in media also added that extra factor. And that as a professional athlete and all that, like, you're in the public eye. And that was another thing that was stressful on me, because I was having to be in the media, and I was on TV quite a bit at the time and doing the news and all this. And I felt like I could not let my guard down, because if I did, it would look like weakness. And so I didn't. And so even when my heart issues happened, I was still very afraid to admit them on air or in the public that I had this heart attack, because I felt ashamed. I felt like people would judge me, which is ridiculous, because as soon as I finally shared my story, which was after almost 6 months of a fellow editor friend of mine at Chatelaine magazine, it's the biggest kind of women's magazine in Canada, national magazine, she finally convinced me to share my story in the pages of that magazine. And it got so many great reviews, the article, because women could relate. They were like, oh, finally, like, it's great to see that you're not perfect. I can relate. And the fact that you're coming forward with all of your stresses, or that there's things that you have to really be concerned about, it was very eye-opening for people. So that was the beginning of me starting to share my story and be very open about it on TV shows and in my book and in other platforms. And another reason why I started my redlilylife.com, because it's a storytelling platform for women to share their stories. And they're not all about heart health. They're about stress. They're about change in careers. They're about, loss and grief, but they're also about love and relationships. And I really wanted to open up that platform so that there was a safe place for women to share their story. And that all spawned out of me sharing mine. So that was another way that my heart health has really led to giving back. In the world of digital world right now, of people being able to share so we can all heal and grow together.
Yeah, I love that. And I can tell you're in media, because that was like a perfect transition. You just read my mind and transitioned right into Red Lily. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. I must have like sent you the mental, mind waves. And that was my next question, of course, was about Red Lily. and when you started, which I love, because once again, as you know, She Talks, which is why there's so much synergy here. You were doing the writing side of it. We're doing the platform side of it, of, getting women to share stories. Do you feel like when I wrote my book, I felt like there was some serious healing and therapy when I shared my story? Did you feel like that when you started all of this with Red Lily?
Absolutely. I mean, I started it before that. When I wrote my book, I self-published it, got it on Amazon myself. I went through all the, as an editor, you kind of do that. And I really felt like it was more of a therapeutic process. I was processing my whole heart attack, my health, pre and post, and then figuring out what I was going to do. So when I started redlilylife.com, it was because I was going to write a second book at that time. But then I had so many friends coming to me who had read my first book, and they said, wow, I wish I had an outlet or a place to be able to share my story, but I don't work in media and I couldn't just call up a TV show and get on there to promote my book. I'd love to have somewhere where I can share. And that's what made me think, I'm going to start a platform, a blog where other people can contribute. I've had over 1,500 people submit stories now all over the world, and a lot of it's through word of mouth because they feel like they can be open and honest. It's a very open platform. There's parameters for submissions, but certainly not on the editing perspective. I want everyone to have their own voice. And I do it all. I want to feel that connection with the people who are submitting, and all these different categories that people can write to. And like I said before, there's health, there's healing, there's transitions, there's life lessons. And it's really about sharing as much or as little as you want about your story so that you can feel some sense of relief. You can feel some sense of kind of, wow, I got that off my chest. Now, if any bit of my story can help anyone out there, then wonderful. And I share it on social media, and people have used it as a platform to get their own podcast interviews down the road or write their books. So for me, it was a way to give back, knowing that I am a storyteller, I am a content creator, and I'm a journalist, but it's extremely authentic. So same with you. You give people through your organization like opportunities to speak and to come together as a community, to network, to do all these things. Mine is more of a writing because that's my background. I'm a journalist, but it's more of an offering of creativity. I also have, funny enough, some other submissions. You can write poems, you can write lyrics. I've had some people submit photo essays if they're more into taking photos to basically describe their journey. Anything to do with a personal journey and transformation is what I love to have on there. And it's also free to get your story up there. It's my give back. I just love to offer this to women, but I have also had some males submit their stories, including my son. Anybody can write anything on there if you feel like it's going to give you some sense of relief.
I love that. And is it just redlily.com that they can go to? redlilylife.com. We'll make sure we'll put that in the links. And once again, I love that. It's the first step for women and of course men as well. But as you said, I think it's a great, great process. And of course, I'm going to be posting this in our She Talks platform because this is another great way for our women to share their stories. And I tell you, there's some tremendous stories out there. As we're coming to the end of the podcast, I love to ask all of my women I interview, if you could go back to your younger self and give your younger self advice, what would it be?
I do get asked this quite a bit. And you know what? I have to say, I'd love to give myself in my early 20s some grace. I think that, and again, like what's that to a 20-year-old, right? You want to climb the corporate ladder. You want to prove yourself out there in your career. I was trying to prove to my parents, to my friends, to myself that I could do it and be independent. I think that I'd give myself some grace and just say, if you don't get that next promotion, that's okay. Enjoy where you are right now. I think my mind was always running. I'm sure for you too, always kind of at the speed of light, like where can I go next? What can I do next? Even in my relationships, funny enough. And I think I would give myself some grace. I think I would say, you know what? It's all going to happen in due time. It's all going to come together in the end. We're going to have ups and downs along the road, even into your 40s, into your 50s. I'm 51 now. There's going to be bumps in the road, but you're going to get through them. So don't rush it and don't grow up too fast and just enjoy the process. I think that's probably the advice I'd give to myself.
I love that. I love that. And it's so important. I see that today with my daughter. She was being incredibly hard on herself. And I was saying the same thing, like, give yourself grace. You got time, enjoy being where you're at. I hear often people say, enjoy the view, enjoy the moment. And I agree. Sometimes we're so desperately trying to get somewhere to something that we forget to enjoy that moment. And I think that's such great advice. So as I know this is November, we're going to be heading into December and the new year. What are some great things that our listeners can connect with you on, follow up on, look out for? I mean, I know you've got everything from Success to Red Lily. Of course, we have She Talk stuff, which we'll post soon as well. But where and what should they be looking out for things coming from you?
Yeah, well, the best way to kind of like follow along and see all of my, cool experiences at Success Magazine and even in my other business aspirations as well is really following me on Instagram and Facebook at Kerrie Lee Brown, and on X and all those different social outlets. You can also check kerrieleebrown.com, which I'm actually in the midst, the website's up, but I am in the midst of refreshing that for the new year, which I'm really excited about. But other than that, I've been doing a lot of speaking. I've been getting out on the circuit. I'm heading to Orlando next month to do a big talk as well. I think, well, you will see me out and about a little bit more in the new year. Some great projects coming up with She Talks, but also on the success front. I mean, I'm very fortunate in my role. I'm VP Media and Editor-in-Chief at Success Magazine. And I do get to intermingle with a lot of thought leaders around the world and experts in personal professional development. You will see a lot of really great interviews coming down the pipe in the new year with some really big names. I can't mention them right now, but you'll see. But what I like to do is I love to interview these people, not just because they deem in the public eye that they're already successful. I love to talk to them about the story behind the story, right? How did you actually get here? What are some of the hiccups along the way, the setbacks, and how did you overcome them? So when you see me doing my journalism and writing my articles or doing my video interviews, it's really digging deep into their, what made them who they are today. So you're going to see some really cool people, some people that you all know, household names coming out in the new year. Again, watch out on my website and socials for some really new projects that are coming with some courses. A new book is on the way as well, ebooks, and also some other community and networking opportunities with me as well. So really excited to do that. And I've also started to help people do media training as well. Since I've worked in media for so long, I get a lot of people coming to me, entrepreneurs, CEOs, executives, influencers coming to me and saying, how do I pitch the media? How do I actually get in Success Magazine or any of these other magazines I've worked at in the past? How do I get on the cover? So I do that kind of consulting now as well. I'm moving a little bit more into that. And so I'd love for anyone to reach out to me at all through kerrieleebrown.com.
Awesome. I love it. And we'll make sure for those of you who might be driving right now or working out, like, hey guys, I didn't get that. Don't worry. We'll put all the links in there so you guys can go back and check this out. But thank you so much for being on the show with us, Kerrie Lee. Thank you for being so honest and authentic about your stories. And She Talks and myself are super excited on like all the stuff we're going to be doing in the new year. So we'll be launching that out as well. But for those of you women who are listening, I think my takeaway from this is that you can still have it all and still be healthy and still have balance, because our version of success can be whatever version we make it. It doesn't have to be what the cultural expectation is of success out there. And Kerrie Lee, you are an epitome of so much success that you've had in your life. And I expect just nothing but more and more major, amazing success too. So as I always say, live, love, laugh, and always be your authentic self.
Hey, we all want to scale our business. Hey, I have the answer for you today to help you do that. If you're looking to scale from 5, 6, even 7 figures and beyond, book called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is type in growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and you can download the book for absolutely free. I hope the book helps you this year. Take your business to the next level. Again, go grab the book, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. I wish you the best and grow, scale, and win.
Thanks for listening to Lead and Empower Her with your host, Dr. Julie Ducharme. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Dear God.